What's good, wrestling fans? Welcome back to the channel where we dig deep into the stories WWE doesn't want you to hear. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we're about to dive headfirst into some serious behind-the-scenes chaos that'll make your jaw drop. And if you've been riding with us for a while, you know we don't sugarcoat anything here. We tell it like it is, even when the corporate machine tries to bury the truth. So grab your snacks, settle in, and let me tell you about the most explosive backstage incident WWE has tried to sweep under the rug this year. We're talking about the Jey Uso and LA Knight brawl that went down at Monday Night Raw. And trust me when I say what you saw on TV was basically WWE's sanitized, family-friendly version of what was actually a 15-minute war zone that left grown men shook and property looking like a tornado hit it. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, smash that like button if you're tired of WWE feeding us watered-down content when the real story is so much more compelling. And ring that notification bell because you know they're going to try to bury stories like this, but we're not letting that happen on our watch. Now, you think you know what went down backstage at Monday Night Raw? You really think those cameras captured the full truth of what erupted between Jey Uso and LA Knight? But let me make one thing absolutely crystal clear, and I cannot stress this enough. What WWE aired on television was nothing more than a watered-down shadow of the absolute chaos that erupted behind those curtains. I'm talking about sanitized, corporate-approved nonsense that insulted the intelligence of every single fan who invests their hard-earned money and precious time into this product. And the fact that the company has been desperately trying to sweep this under the rug like it never happened, that has me absolutely boiling. Because this wasn't some scripted altercation meant to fill TV time, folks. This wasn't some work-shoot angle they cooked up in the writer's room. This was raw, unfiltered bad blood spilling over into the most violent, authentic backstage clash we've seen in years. And you know what? The WWE Universe deserves the truth about how this whole thing unfolded, not some sanitized corporate fairy tale. LA Knight has been running his mouth for months, and I mean months, acting like he's completely untouchable, like he can just spit on the Uso name, disrespect the Bloodline, and walk away without paying any consequences. Meanwhile, Jey Uso has been biting his tongue, trying to play the professional, trying to hold back what we all knew was a brewing storm. But Monday night in Chicago, and shout out to Chicago, by the way, they always know how to bring the energy. Something inside Jey just snapped like a rubber band stretched too far. And what followed? 15 minutes of unrestrained, unscripted carnage that left wrestlers genuinely shaken, property absolutely destroyed, and management scrambling around like headless chickens trying to figure out damage control. I'm talking about the kind of chaos that reminds you why wrestling used to feel dangerous and unpredictable. My source is inside the locker room, and yes, I protect my sources because unlike WWE, I believe in journalistic integrity. Tell me it started innocently enough. Picture this. Jey Uso, tucked away in catering, absolutely drained by the constant pressure of carrying his family legacy on his shoulders. You know how it is when you're constantly being weighed down by comparisons to Roman Reigns, constantly having people question whether you can succeed on your own merits. He's hunched over his notes, trying to prepare for the night ahead, just trying to get his head in the game. Then LA Knight struts in with that trademark swagger, but this time there's something different about it. There's venom in his step, like a man who's been carrying months of pent-up resentment and finally found the perfect moment to unleash it. Knight grabs a water bottle, probably didn't even need it, just wanted to make his presence known, locks eyes with Jey, and in front of wrestlers, crew members, catering staff, basically anyone within earshot, he starts going in on the Bloodline. We're talking full-scale mockery here, people, mocking Roman, mocking the Uso heritage, deliberately poking at scars that Jey had been carrying for years. But here's where it gets personal. Knight calls him nothing but a lapdog who could never succeed without Roman pulling the strings. Now, if you know anything about Samoan culture, about family honor, about what the Bloodline represents, you know that's not just an insult, that's fighting words. That insult was like pouring gasoline on dry wood, and the flame was immediate and explosive. Witnesses told me that Jey rose slowly from his chair, and you could hear that chair scraping against the floor like a warning bell. The entire room fell silent. We're talking pin drop silence with tension so thick you could cut it with a knife, as Jey whispered, and I quote, "What did you just say?" Now, any reasonable person would have backed down at that point. Any smart person would have read the room and realized they'd crossed the line. But Knight, arrogant as ever, cocky to his core, he doubled down. He sneered right in Jey's face and started deliberately mocking sacred Samoan language. And that, my friends, was the moment all hell broke loose. Jey exploded forward with a right hand so fierce it cracked against Knight's jaw like a shotgun blast. I'm told the sound echoed through that catering area like nothing they'd ever heard. It sent Knight flying, and I mean flying, into a catering table loaded with food and drinks, everything crashing to the floor in a symphony of destruction. And from that second on, the fight turned into pure, unfiltered carnage. These weren't work punches, people. These weren't safe wrestling spots choreographed for your entertainment. This was real. This was rage-fueled violence as Knight and Jey tore into each other with fists, knees, and elbows, their bodies crashing into walls, tables flipping like they were made of cardboard, racks of chairs clattering to the ground, drywall actually cracking from the impact of human bodies, equipment getting absolutely wrecked. Picture this madness. Jey nearly dragged Knight toward the loading dock with the genuine intent of throwing him through a steel door. We're talking attempted homicide levels of anger here. Knight fought back with knees and elbows like he was in an MMA cage match, not a catering area. Both men stumbling through debris, and get this, they literally burst through a partition wall. I'm talking drywall exploding, dust clouds everywhere, and they're still swinging, still shouting, still trying to destroy each other. By this point, half the locker room had poured out to watch this spectacle. Some frozen in shock because they'd never seen anything like this in their careers, others trying to intervene but honestly too scared to get between two men who had completely lost control. But the carnage escalated even further when Knight managed to grab a steel chair and started swinging it with murderous intent. Not theatrical wrestling chair shots. We're talking genuine malice, denting concrete, clipping Jey's shoulder with a sickening clang that made everyone wince, and almost taking his head clean off. That's when Jey caught the chair mid-swing and yanked it away with frightening force, the kind of strength that only comes from pure adrenaline and rage. He raised it high above Knight's head, ready to deliver what could have been a career-ending, possibly life-threatening shot, when finally, and I mean finally, 8 grown men swarmed them. We're talking security agents, road agents, fellow wrestlers, basically anyone who wasn't afraid of getting accidentally clocked, wrestling them apart like they were separating wild animals. Even then, both men kept lunging at each other, screaming threats that I can't repeat on this family-friendly platform, every word dripping with hatred so genuine that it made veteran wrestlers uncomfortable. The kind of hatred that reminded everyone why wrestling used to feel dangerous and unpredictable. And here's where this story goes from incredible to infuriating. Because that was the moment WWE management had a choice. They could have leaned into this raw, authentic, once-in-a-decade feud that fell right into their laps. They could have given fans the most compelling storyline of the year, rooted in real emotion and genuine conflict. But instead, they chose the coward's path. Within 1 hour, one single hour, Jey and Knight were dragged into separate corporate meetings and told in no uncertain terms that the fight never happened. The official story became it was all scripted, just another segment designed for TV entertainment. Then they had the audacity to air a pathetic 90-second sanitized version on Raw that insulted the intelligence of every fan who invests their hard-earned money and precious time into this product. Let me tell you something. Drop a comment below if you're as frustrated as I am about this corporate sanitization, because this fight wasn't about championship belts or booking decisions. This was about respect, about honor, about Knight believing Jey was coasting on family legacy while Jey believed Knight had crossed sacred lines by disrespecting not just him, but his culture and bloodline. This wasn't just a fight, people. This was war rooted in genuine human emotion. Instead of embracing this authentic fire, WWE scrubbed it clean, polished it into a meaningless vignette, and robbed us of something that could have been legendary. The locker room is split down the middle now. Veterans are furious about how management handled it. Younger wrestlers are whispering about picking sides. Fans are left completely in the dark about what really went down. And WWE's obsession with controlling every single narrative has once again proven that corporate fear outweighs authentic storytelling. Think back to Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Feuds driven by real animosity that became absolutely legendary because they bled authenticity. That same spark was right there Monday night, handed to WWE on a silver platter, and they smothered it with corporate bubble wrap. What happened between Jey Uso and LA Knight should have been the launching pad for the feud of the year, the kind of storyline that gets talked about for decades. Instead, it's become another reminder that WWE is so focused on brand image and safe narratives that they'll bury genuine fire if they can't control every aspect of it. Make no mistake, fans aren't stupid. We can feel when something is real. We can see when pain and fury aren't scripted. We crave those moments because they're what make wrestling transcend entertainment and become unforgettable history. When wrestlers bleed authenticity, when their real emotions spill into their work, that's when magic happens. That's when wrestling becomes art. WWE had lightning in a bottle Monday night, and they poured